So, it's not every day you have the opportunity to talk to someone that literally has knocked on thousands of doors and has made millions of dollars in commission doing this. And, I also, too, loved expireds because in some respects, they raised their hand, but also you knew what wasn't going to work. I know sometimes for newer agents, they're worried about overpricing. Well, the good thing about expired is you know what it wasn't going to sell for, and then you can really examine what didn't work and then how to do that. I think sometimes we forget about the power of our marketing, right? It's not just the price, but what did the other agent do to market the property and how to do this, and it's solving their problem. So I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you is what do you think we want to share the biggest takeaways. So what do you think the biggest takeaways that you'd want an agent listening to this to make sure they heard?
Yeah, we made a couple of notes for you, and these are things that I think are just mission critical, extremely important for you to remember, especially with expireds and FSBOs. We did really, really well in this particular part of the business because we were what we called the last person standing. In other words, this is a long sale sometimes. It takes weeks to months for them to, especially with expireds, to re-enter the market. Sometimes FSBOs want to play out there a little bit longer before they decide to commit to working with a real estate agent. So follow-up is probably the most important thing I would tell you. Use thank you notes. Whenever you write a thank you note, again, remind them as to when you're going to call them back. And as we agreed, I'm going to call you back in a couple of weeks or a month and see how you're doing, that kind of stuff.
Use that CRM?
Yeah, use that CRM. There's no, guys, I think we need to be, at the risk of being too direct, I'm just going to tell you, if you're going to do this work, you have to use a CRM, period. Or if you don't, you will not be consistent enough in the follow-up and the behaviors to make this happen. It's just, it would be really unfair of me to lead you to believe that when you're talking to Fred and you say you're going to call him back in 2 weeks, you better call him back in 2 weeks. I'll tell you a quick story. During the winter, every year, I would accumulate all these people who wanted to get started again in the spring, whether they be by owners or expireds. And one year, I told them I'd call them back in the spring. And for me, the spring was early April. And I remembered losing at least 6 or 7 of them because to them, spring was March 1st, okay? So make sure you're accurate on the time. If I tell somebody I'm going to call them back in early March, it's probably going to be March 1. But get on it, do what you say you're going to do, and you have to use a CRM to do this. It's impossible to track it in your head. You can't possibly do it.
Dennis, I was thinking about the expireds, and my experience of working with them was, we all know about the know, like, and trust, right? But expireds, lots of times, the trust is going to be the most important. You're only going to build the trust by doing 2 things. One, being super knowledgeable about what you do, and then actually doing what you say. They could have had an absolutely awful experience with another agent that maybe didn't do the things that were supposed to. So when you said call Fred and that date, if you don't with an expired, that may be the last call, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what they're looking for, is that trust factor. I always thought, we talk about rapport. My experience has been is the amount of extra rapport needed for someone who is an expired listing. You almost have to normalize what happened to them, has been my experience, where, it's almost like saying, people didn't want their house. Like, you don't want your house. And usually their feelings are hurt. I would always use the list of how many other expireds were. There were 17 other people just like you. It does happen. Some agents aren't successful in properly marketing your house. I would love to so don't feel bad. It might not be your activity. It may have been the results of that. I would love to help figure it out, right?
Yeah, yep. Strong follow-up, use a lot of thank you notes, take your time. You have to use a CRM to do this. And don't get Phil and I started on practice, okay? Because you just have to do it. You have to, when somebody says to you in this kind of an environment, asks you a question or whatever, you have to, first of all, ask a lot of questions, take your time, be nice, and give away free stuff. Offer free CMAs, offer staging trips, offer some suggestions about how to present the home differently. There's all kinds of things that you as a realtor can do to add value to their lives and to their real estate experience, and take advantage of them. You have a lot to offer people. If you don't, learn how to offer people a lot, because it comes back to you. Don't worry about that. The other thing I could tell you is, the definition of faith is a belief in something that you've never seen before.
Sure.
It doesn't really have anything to do by nature with religion. And you can trust what I'm telling you about this process. If you devote a specific amount of time to it, we've given you the skills necessary to do it right. You're going to have results that are 10 times better than you ever could possibly imagine. The other thing I can tell you is the stuff I ran through my head that people were going to do to me and tell me and all that other stuff, it was all a figment of my imagination. 99% of it. Once in a great while, somebody will be a little short with you. Just say thank you for your time, get out as quick as possible, and don't worry about it. But don't let that become this huge barrier between you and a really wonderful career. So I hope this was helpful to you, and thank you for listening to us. Have a great day.